Today we're going to be taking a look at a Fasco World's Fair. This one is polished brass, 52 inches in diameter, and has walnut blades. The World's Fair model came about at a time when Fasco was trying to deviate the look of their fans from that of Thomas. The ornate, or B-series Parlour Fan was introduced around the same time, and as the name suggested, it had a more ornate look about it compared to that of the plain Parlour Fan. And the World's Fair was just that, except with 6 blades instead of 4, giving it a rather unique look. These fans are always a rare treat when they pop up, and it only took me, about 3.5 years to finally find another one? This is not the first Fasco World's Fair I've gotten in my collection, it is the second. The first World's Fair was another 52-inch polished brass one. However, that one was never really in the best condition in terms of its performance. The motor came to me in new old stock form, which, yes, in one aspect is really cool, but in another aspect it meant that the flywheel was very brittle and starting to crack, and the bearings were extremely stiff and noisy, due to the fan not being ran for 35-odd years. In addition to that, because Fasco packaged their blades and motors separately, I had to pillage blades, irons, and badges from another collector. And even after all that, a few screws and small parts were still missing here and there. So yeah. Thankfully though, this one is 100% complete and in very nice overall condition. The bearings are pretty quiet. The brass is still nice and rich. It is not at all fading into that chrome-like color that Fasco's polished brass is kind of notorious for. The fan is fairly well balanced, the vari-low works, and the flywheel is nice and sturdy, and even has the metal reinforcement ring. And one thing I do want to point out real fast is that canopy is not original to this fan. I borrowed that one off of my other polished brass World's Fair. The canopy that came with this fan is right here. And as you can see, it is quite a bit different looking. I'm not even sure if this is a Fasco canopy personally. It might be, though to me it looks more like a Thomas product. So that's a little interesting. Anyways, we'll start this fan up now. That's as slow as it can go on the very low setting. So even though this is the first World's Fair I have acquired in about 3 to 3.5 years, it is not the first World's Fair I saw out in the wild when hunting. Definitely not. It is a rather long series of unfortunate events that made it such a long time between me getting a second one. The first World's Fair I saw was in upstate New York, and it was a 38-inch polished brass one with walnut blades. However, at the time, I wasn't really up to doing long fan drives, so I passed on it, like a fool. The next ones to pop up were 2 polished brass 52-inch ones with cane blades, and those were also in upstate New York, though not super far upstate. They were northwest of New York City, but still very far south of, say, Albany. I messaged the sellers. They said they were available. I asked when I could come pick them up. and then they ghosted me. And the listing was deleted a few days later. Whoop-de-doo. Then, as if to pour more salt on the wound, another collector local to me found 6 World's Fairs up in New York from a listing that I never even saw. And then, to top it all off, in summer of 2022, a 38-inch white and antique brass World's Fair popped up in northern Kentucky that I wanted to try and get while out on the Fanimation group trip, but then the listing got deleted about a week before Fanimation actually happened. So I was not able to get that either. And yes, some of those instances are definitely my fault. However, at the same time, it did just feel as if fate was giving me a backhanded middle finger. Anyways, we'll turn the fan up a little. But even though I had to wait quite a long time, I finally got my moment in the sun here. Also, one quick thing I want to point out is that in the video shot it may kind of look like the switch cap is more chrome. However, it is still just as brass as the rest of the fan. That's just the way the lighting in the video looks. As when I'm looking at it here, it's definitely brass. It's just, again, the lighting in the video. Just thought I'd call attention to that real fast. Turn it up some more. We'll take it up to full speed on the very low. Then we'll take it up to high. There is a teeny bit of wobble, however it is barely noticeable. Not the fastest moving Fasco out there, but it doesn't really need to move fast with 6 blades, as it is still blowing a ton of air. And there you go. A polished brass Fasco World's Fair.